where we are now, what about this event, conference, and what are you doing here in Bulgaria?
Okay, I'm here in Bulgaria to run or to be part of the course called Open Science Winter School or Open Research. I think it depends of the countries. I think in Bulgaria you call it more Open Research than Open Science. But it's a course that engages different researchers from the country and is funded under a project called Reinforce. And the specific initiative, which is making an incubator in Bulgaria, is called Orbit. And I'm very happy to be part of this. It's very interesting for Skills for Years project, which is one of the projects that I'm involved now, and Sarah, my colleague from Italy, is too. And it's important that we are capable to skill up in open science people in different countries and in Europe.
What excites you about open science?
Wow, that's very interesting. The main thing that I think open science is important for me, it's exciting, because it's something that I think we are in the moment where something should change. There is the current science cannot cope anymore from two reasons. We cannot cope anymore with the publication system. The figures cannot be followed up. And I think another science is necessary and another science is needed. And the point is that it's possible because we are in the borderline to change the scientific communication system.
How?
I would love to. That's why I do my research and meta research. The point is that to change the way we do science, we have to recognize that we are very paper-centric. All the research in the olden times, and still now, we are based on publishing or perish. So if we are just moving on to a more data-oriented research, the research is more oriented to research platforms, research capabilities, high-performing computing, machine learning. We are in another research. We have to have another way of research. What I use all the time is this perception of what Tim Berners-Lee said about the web, that the web had changed everything in our lives. The way we buy things, the way we buy tickets, the way we make a reservation in a hotel, the way we communicate to each other. It has changed exactly every single thing in our lives, except the way we communicate and we found science. We keep doing that like in 20th or 18th century. And for me, it's just anachronic, insane, expensive, absurd. So I think I don't want to be with you 1 year after this or 5 years after and say to you, you know, Petar, artificial intelligence has changed everything in our lives in 5 years, not in 30 years, except the way we communicate science. I think the researchers, we have to be more exigent with the way that we do science and with the way to communicate it to the society.
Okay, I know the answer of this question that I will ask you for myself, but why the society need to know about science more? I'm convinced that now more than ever, it's need to know what happened and why science is important. But why you think?
I think the society, the citizens, pay for the science we do. I mean, for the public funded science. If you work in a private company, you are Microsoft and you do your research, okay, it's up to you that you don't share it. But if the citizens pay for the things that we do to improve their world, they should be aware of that. If I'm investigating stupid things just to get a paper published, which is the tyranny of our existence of researchers, they need to know that I'm researching, wasting money for doing research that is not important for that. They need to know what we do research. They need to know what is going on to make science better. And also, for me, science is like a parachute. If it is not open, It's not going to help you. So what it is, if you have a problem with a kid, your son has a cancer. I don't want that for anybody. But if you have a real problem, you want to have access to everything. So why the cancer research has to be on the borders of the high quality universities that they can afford paying access? Oh, you say, well, no, but it's also only for the researchers, because if you are not a medical doctor, you cannot understand my research in cancer. Excuse me, you could be the grandfather of the kid, you are a medical doctor, you are retired, you pay your taxes, and you don't have access to that paper, and you can help that person. So I think it's absurd the way we access to the information, and society needs to have primary hand access to the information.
Yeah.
I knew that we will be agree.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, but for example, Bulgaria is have our own language, and there's some faculties and some researchers can like Bulgarian language. How they can produce enough data to be helpful for others only in Bulgarian. What's about these issues that more local level?
That's a very interesting topic and a very interesting question that it happened this morning in the winter school too. That sometimes we only think that the science that exists is the science that is published in English in high level impact factor selected journals, I will say, in a proper way. But the point is that if you do local science that is affecting Bulgarian economy, something like that, you can communicate that in Bulgarian. The problem is that if you don't do it in the highly cited indexed journals, you are out of the competition or out of the reward. We have to learn how to reward multilingual communication. We have to be serious. To translate a paper is 1 second with ChatGPT, with 1 million artificial intelligence, with a deep translator, with whatever. You can't translate. Translation is not an issue. The thing is that to make good science in your own language, where you can express the thing, and perhaps you can encode those data with good metadata so the people are aware that they exist, and then they can translate it. So we need to be not only communicating in one kind of outcome called paper, in one language called English, in one kind of papers called journal impact factor papers. We have to communicate science in different ways, in different languages. And this multilingual issue is addressed by CoARA, the Coalition of Advancing Research Assessment. And one of the working groups is really, really engaged with the multilingual communication and an acknowledgement of the communication that you do in your own language. Imagine if you do Finnish philology, it's better you communicate it in Finnish than in English. If you do a Spanish tradition, culture, I mean, of course, the English is the de facto Rosetta Stone for scientific communication. We are talking in English.
Exactly.
But in a minute, next year, you can talk in Bulgarian, I can answer you in Spanish, and it will be perfectly translated in English. So what's the problem? The language, and with the advancement of the large language model that is good for that, there is not an issue anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, but what about the close papers? These journals that we have to pay first for publish and sometimes to read the papers. How this is first the question is what about this paper that it's open but we have to pay for publish there? Okay, and how is the things in Spain? You, are you going there, or Europe going there?
I mean, I would like Spain. I have to be honest that having working for so many years that I'm pretty happy that it's moving on. I mean, slowly, like everything, because there is a lot of reluctance of change. Every change has an impact. And even if it is for better, you change to your house to a palace, you will have an impact. You have to move there, okay? So if we change for a better system, we are reluctant. We don't want changes. And the old generations, based on the career of the new generations, they say, no, we will not change it because the poor newcomers, poor early career researcher. No, the early career researchers are happy to move on. And in Spain, we have now Spanish regulation, the new law of science and the new law of universities. They recognize science as a commons, which is a big sentence in my opinion. We have slowly getting there infrastructures. Probably we are not very much still on the EOSC performance and the European data infrastructures, but we are getting there. We have policies, but always there is a lot of room for improvement. If I look at Finland or the Netherlands, they are very much aware of advance on where we are.
Okay, can you elaborate, say more about the good examples, what they achieve now?
Well, there is also a question of autonomy and a question of research practices, research funding. For example, in CoARA, in the Coalition of the Advancement of Research Assessment, when we started creating the national chapters, I was very much in favor of that because I say, well, we need, no, because if we do national chapters, it will be just islands, individuals, and we need to change the research evaluation at once, transversally. But I think it's very interesting because every country has their own budget. They have their own autonomy, their own performance. They have their own culture of research communication and evaluation. And for example, in Spain, we have a national Spanish agency for evaluating researchers that you get accredited to have a career statement. So that is the way to do. And other countries, they have different things. So there is important to know at the reality of the different countries or different regions. We are very much European-centric. Last year, I was on my sabbatical and I wanted to recover my knowledge of the Global South. So I was in Argentina, Chile, Uruguay, and I was also in Australia. They're different parts of the world, but we need to engage them in the same thing. We cannot do a European system. We cannot do open European system or open research for Europe. Of course, we have to pin down the particularities that we had, that we have and we will have in the future as Europeans. It's not the same as Australia. It's not the same as Argentina, and they are more in different realities. But we have to engage everybody in the world. They are good examples and bad examples. But I think there is something that we have to do, researchers together, more than political thing.
Yeah. What advice can you give for young researchers?
I love to teach young researchers, and for me, they are the most amazing generation. I have this joke. It's not very politically correct, but I say there is hope under 40. Because it's true. When you see early career researchers, they believe they have as an ADN the behavior of open science. They like to collaborate. They like to share things in GitHub. They like to publish. But then they become more and more senior in academia, and they realize that the only way to win a career, because this is not that we are researchers from 19th century, looking at butterflies with a magnifier because we are rich. No, this is a career. I live out of my academic career. You have to do what it has to be done. So they will be very happy to be asked to do more open data, open research, open science. But if they bump into the wall that they have to do more papers, and papers in here that they have to pay and they don't have to pay, and then somebody else in the laboratory has to pay for them, so you have to put a bunch of names on the paper that they were not working in your thesis.
Nightmare.
That's what it is, but there is what they don't want to be. And I will advise them, keep going, keep making papers with your advisor asks you to do it, but publish your paper in open access repositories, collaborate, engage with the citizens, have a behavior as an open scientist, because before or after, you will be recognized for that. And also you will be happy. What would you like to have a student? A paper in the Q1 or a student that is happy? A student that is happy. The problem is that it became that a student that is happy is the one that gets a paper in the Q1. I don't want that. I want my students to change the world, not to have more papers in some.
Okay. What do you recommend to Bulgarian institutions to do in probably next 12 months?
I would just recommend you guys join us. Join CoARA, the Coalition of Advanced Research Assessment, which is the key issue that we need to change to make open science better. Join us in different projects, join the community, join the European Open Science Club, join us. I mean, I think the institutions, I think there is only one institution, Bulgarian, I don't remember, it's Medical University, is one institution that is involved in CoARA. The more institutions they are involved, the more powerful will be the effect. So if you have enough institutions, for example, in the coalition of the research assessment, you can create a national chapter in Bulgaria, that it will be the key issue of changing the way you measure science and join other initiatives like the multilingualism and the other things that are happening in working groups in CoARA.
Yeah. Join them.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, good. So you can edit and
Yeah,
put it.
I will put it.
Good. I have to learn more about editing, because when I was lazy.
take the-
Oh yeah. When I was very lazy about doing my own podcast, was about if I do it just straight away, fine.
Yeah.
But if you have to do a lot of
No, you
editing.
have to edit it.
Yes. Journal.
Thank you for this conversation.
It was lovely to have it.